We're now joined by former Greek Foreign Minister Dora Bacogyannis, and she is live in Athens. Hello, Dora.
Hello.
Hello. Great to have you. I also want to introduce
Thank you for the invitation.
I also want to introduce you to the two guests that I have here with me in the London studio. They are John Van Reenen, LSE Economics Professor, and Redefine's Managing Director, Soni Kapoor. Let me start off this discussion, Dora, with a question to you. Can you articulate for us why it's so important for Greece to stay in the euro?
Well, it's very important for Greece to stay in the euro for the simple reason that this is the only way we can work ourselves out of this crisis. It's very clear Greece needs to go forward with the necessary structural reforms, which unfortunately had not been done by the government of Mr. Papandreou. Structural reforms which are necessary for us to come back to the necessary growth, because we are in the fourth year of a very, very tough recession. It is important because going back to the drachma, it would mean an inflational drachma, a devaluation of the drachma of at least 60%, a loss of Greece's valor also. So it is for us of main importance that we do not gamble with the eventuality of Greece going back to the drachma.
Dora, let me bring in John Van Reenen at this point. John, do you agree that the cost of leaving the euro and adopting the drachma is so detrimental for Greece? Because there are some economists who argue that maybe that is actually what Greece needs, a bit of devaluation to give it a boost.
I think it's true to say that Greece could benefit from some form of devaluation to make itself more competitive. In fact, what's happening now is a form of internal devaluation, where the structural reforms that Dora was describing and the austerity program is trying to lead to, reductions of nominal wages. But I think that she's quite right that Greece is better off staying in the euro. If Greece did leave, it has very unknown consequences what that would mean for Greece. It would quite likely mean, a lot of chaos in the banking system, a collapse of the Greek banking system, a collapse of a lot of Greek businesses, and of course contagion effects on the rest of Europe, and the rest of the world indeed, which we're not sure about how they would be, but they would certainly be very, very serious. So both for the good of Greece and for the wider good of the rest of the Eurozone, I think that they're better off staying in. However, I have to say that if the current program of austerity continues at this pace, I find it hard to believe that Greece can maintain this. So I do think that it's reasonable for Greece to want to have some type of renegotiation over the terms of the bailout agreement.
Dora, on that point, should your party come to power, I think your party has said you will renegotiate the memorandum. What would you like to renegotiate, and what is an absolute want that you must see in the new arrangement?
Look, I think it's very clear that we have to renegotiate parts of the memorandum, and as the professor already mentioned, we need it, and there is a view of already in the European Union that this is absolutely necessary, that part of the medicine kills the patient. So, of course, first of all, we need much more time, which means we need at least 2 more years to adapt, because no country in the world, except in war times, has been asked to adapt as quickly as the Greek economy or the Greek society are supposed to adapt. The second thing is that, as Hollande and many other European leaders already said, we need a very concrete growth program. What we cannot fight in Greece, and why all the economists practically were wrong in their numbers, and also the people responsible of the memorandum, was because the recession was too big. So we have to deal with this recession, because if not, no number will be correct. So of course a very concrete growth program is needed with the existing European funds. We don't want more money, but we need the European funds well targeted. And the third is, of course, one of the big problems also Mrs. Lagarde mentioned, I think in a wrong way, but anyway, she mentioned it, is the Greek tax system.
Sure.
The Greek
Dora,
tax
let me
system
just jump in
needs
here.
A complete threat.
Let me just jump in here, because I want to bring in Sony on this crucial point about renegotiating the memorandum. You're an avid follower of everything in Brussels, Sony. How likely is that?
Well, I think it's inevitable, and I think that no matter what the end result of the election is, there would be people sitting around the table renegotiating, and nobody is going to be tearing up the memorandum, no matter what the political rhetoric. And I think the last point that was being discussed is completely crucial. So given how much resistance there is to putting any more money to Greece, I find it shocking that there has not been a pan-European agreement on making sure that tax avoidance and tax evasion are tackled at the European level with European support, particularly from all the program countries, particularly from Greece, because Greece by itself can try and do more, but there are limits to what Greece can do without external help, without pressure on Switzerland and the like, about tackling tax avoidance, tax evasion. And also, there is actually a substantial amount of unclaimed taxes from before, if you start looking at capital flight over the past 1 to 2 decades, which can provide substantial support to the program. And I think that is a crucial part of the renegotiation.
Still with us, former Greek Foreign Minister Dora Bacogyanni, live in Athens. And here in the studio with me, Redefine's Managing Director Sony Kapoor and LSE Professor John Van Reenen. Dora, I'd like to start with you. Will we get a definitive result this weekend, or are we likely to have another election?
No, we will not have another election. I think we are going to have a definitive result this weekend. The parties, mainly the so-called pro-European parties, the parties who are determined to keep Greece inside the euro, will cooperate, and I believe that we will have a stable pro-European government. And it's very important, because what we need in Greece is stability. We need to have a good team at work so that they can rediscuss parts of the memorandum with the European partners. And we need also to send a message to our partners in the European Union. The euro is an economic but also mainly a political endeavor. We have to protect the euro. And to protect the euro, we need, at the end of June, decisions which will be crucial. Decisions which will put forward a much bigger economic integration and send a message around the world that all the Eurozone partners together will do whatever is necessary to protect the euro.
That's a great point for my final wrap with my guests here in the studio to comment on. That's a very positive message we've just heard from Athens. Very quickly from the two of you, what do you need to see next week between the elections, the G20, to feel like the euro's crisis is stabilizing, John?
I think we need, between the elections and the 28th of June, to actually see a plan for greater European integration. We need to have a banking union, and I think fundamentally we need a commitment from Germany and the core European countries to expand demand in the Eurozone.
Sony.
The first most important thing is to make sure that everybody understands that the Eurozone is like Hotel California. You can come in but never leave. Without that, nothing else will work, and that needs to be accompanied by a tangible growth plan, and that's the only thing that will work.
Great points to end on. A big thanks to my guests. That's former Greek Foreign Minister Dora Bacogyanni, Redefine's Managing Director Sony Kapoor, and LSE Professor John Van Reenen.